research, obviously, really, for this I've really only needed to read The Trial of the Cannibal Dog. It's a fantastic account, it's a really interesting book, and the libretto is difficult to understand because, I mean, I never knew that Captain Cook was called Tut by the locals, by the indigenous people, and then later on the sailors used that in jest because towards the end it seems that Captain Cook really developed quite a temper, and they would make little songs up about him. So the libretto talks about Tut, and if you hadn't read the book you wouldn't understand what on earth is this, you know, is it Toot, you know, we're suddenly talking about trains or something. So research is really, really important. And in my last episode I looked at English cannibalism because I think it's really important just to think about those things, and what the opera will be doing is looking, I think they're taking it into a different world, not into a world of big sailing ships and all this sort of thing, but taking it into another world so we can look at cannibalism objectively. At least that's what I picked up on. I may be wrong, but I think that's right. However, today I want to look at an article about cannibals and colonialism. It's a fantastic article. It's a must read. It is so enjoyable because it's written by a lady called Catherine Biber. It says here at the bottom that she's a lecturer at the Department of Law at Macquarie University, which is an Australian university. This was written in 2005. You can find it in volume 27 of the Sydney Law Review at page 623. I'm not too sure if she's still a lecturer there, but they're very lucky if she still is a lecturer there. Her writing is fantastic. I'm trying to keep these episodes really short, so I just recommend you go and look at the article. However, she says something on page 625 that I really wanted to read out because of my interest in the law. What she says here is that, quote, law always constructs an other. It draws boundaries around itself. Everything within the boundary is within law's jurisdiction. Everything outside the boundary is lawless. Unquote. I find it a really interesting quote, and I guess when I'm researching the role and when I'm looking at representing the Queen of Tahiti, I guess part of me is thinking about the way that the I guess what's referred to in the opera, the scientific men are coming to categorise the indigenous people. She actually further on says this on page 625, quote, this article has in its background the narrative in which Indigenous Australians became the subjects of the British common law. Of course, that narrative continues to unfold today, where Indigenous people are told that their stolen children, their stolen land, and their stolen wages cannot be lawfully returned, nor can their theft be compensated. This article notes that Indigenous Australians are said to be law's outsiders only so that the law can consume them. While most of this article concerns culturally and legally constructed fears about people being eaten, it remembers that law consumes people all the time, unquote. So I mean, I loved that. So I really want to read that out to you. Then, you know, it's quite amazing because in the next sentence she actually quotes Joseph Banks. And the amazing thing about the quote is this is actually something I sing in the opera. When I'm singing it, I guess when I'm practicing it, I'm thinking, gosh, you know, the librettist is really almost gone mad. You know, what's this librettist talking about? But actually, it's actually taken from Joseph Banks' writing. So the unusual thing about learning this opera is that it's like fact is stranger than fiction. Because Catherine Biber then takes a quote from Joseph Banks, who was a botanist. He actually funded Cook's voyage. And Joseph Banks says, quote, I suppose they live entirely upon fish, dogs and enemies, unquote. And that's just amazing, because that's exactly what I've got to sing. I really didn't think it was a real quote, but here it is. So an article, again, I'll just say it again, it's about cannibals and colonialism. It's by Catherine Biber. It's from the Sydney Law Review, volume 27, at page 623.